We've invested in companies like Facebook, Twitter, Skype, Airbnb, Pinterest, large global companies that are looking to change the world, and we have over 500 employees at our venture capital firm. I am personally very passionate about investing in international companies and international businesses. I believe that we are all citizens of the world and that commerce is the greatest peacemaker that the world has ever known. I spent the last 15 years studying different countries and different areas of innovation. Specifically, I focus a lot on China, where I look at new technology, new business models, and I use that to influence my investment strategy. Their government strategies have inspired me to look for new win-win cases for our firm. And that's actually what led me to KoBold Metals 5 years ago. My investor friends in China were investing in EVs, in climate, and batteries, and it doesn't take a genius to know that batteries are made out of metal. And that's what led me to KoBold. I'm inspired by your vision for using unity and tolerance and promoting these values here, and using business to create great case studies for growth and peace. So thank you for creating an environment that is so predictable, that is welcoming of foreign investors like myself.
Hello, I'm John Chan. I work at T. Rowe Price, which is an American investment firm that manages $1.6 trillion. I myself run a commodities fund, mostly metals and mining, and I manage $6.5 billion. I'm super excited to be here, really excited to invest in KoBold in Zambia. My impression is it's a wonderful place to do business, and we clearly need more metals, more copper in the future, and Zambia is a key place in the world, right, to make that happen. So thank you.
My name is John Thompson. I'm a director of KoBold Metals and a technical advisor. So I am an earth scientist, geoscientist, geologist by background and by passion. And I have been involved in mineral exploration and mine development, mine assessment throughout my career, 30 to 40 years of my career. I've worked for major companies, Rio Tinto and Tech Resources, where I was vice president of technology and development. And I've also worked as an academic in universities. So I've worked at the University of British Columbia running research programs, and at Cornell University in New York State. And currently I'm an honorary professor of sustainable resources at the University of Bristol in the UK. So I tell people that I have spanned the academic and industrial world, and I'm trying to work out what I'm going to do when I grow up. So I've got a ways to go to, till I make that decision. For the last 12 years, I've been involved with new technologies and startups in the mining exploration and sustainability world. And one of those startups, and currently my most favorite, is KoBold Metals, where I've been involved with them for 4 years. And it's been a pleasure to work with them and come to Zambia and see what they're doing. I came last year and had a look at Ming'omba, and I'm back 9 months later, and I can tell you the progress that has been made in that 9 months is inspiring. So I'm just glad to be here. I loved Zambia. I've enjoyed meeting the people here, and I look forward to coming back.
Mr. President, my name is Ian Pierce. I'm like John, I'm an advisor to KoBold. I have had more than 40 years of experience in the mining and metals world. I ended my career by working with Falconbridge and Xstrata, and for 7 years I ran the Xstrata nickel business as the CEO of that business. I'm presently a director on 4 public companies. One of the public companies, I'm the chair of the board. I also, in my spare time, enjoy being part of startups. And like John, I am passionate about technology and how it's going to transform the mining and metals space. And was one of the early sort of part of the team of KoBold when they formed themselves back in 2018. I too, like John, am very excited about where copper sits in the world. I think copper is going to be a major player, continue to be a major player in the ongoing urbanization and industrialization of our world, over and above the agenda now around critical minerals and energy transition. This is my first time to visit the project, and I must say that I'm entirely impressed with the way it's been set up, from safety to productivity, to the management team, the local management team. I've visited many projects across the world. I've been involved with many projects across the world, and this is first class. So I'm honored to be here.
Mr. President, my name is Carl White. I am a partner and chief business officer at Breakthrough Energy Ventures. 1 billion tons of greenhouse gases to zero, which is the mandate that the bill has given us. So we are very, very excited about what we have found here in Zambia and the working environment here, and look forward to phenomenal success in the country. So thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President. My name is Ben Sampson. I'm the managing director at Standard Industries. Standard Industries is a global industrial conglomerate and investment firm headquartered in New York City. We have over 25,000 employees providing building materials and specialty chemicals in over 80 countries in the world. On the investment side, we invest in some of the largest public technology and industrial companies, as well as acquire multi-billion-dollar companies to bring them into the Standard portfolio. And we also invest in innovative companies that are at the intersection of technology and physical industries. And that's what's excited us the most about KoBold and what they're doing for the mineral and metals exploration space, and specifically what they're doing in Zambia with Ming'omba and other resources. I've had a tremendous week here with the Zambian people and the KoBold team here on the ground. Have been energized by the work that's being done here locally in coordination with the technologists all across the world. So thank you so much for your hospitality.
Your Excellency, my name is Jeroen van der Hoek, and I represent Equinor Ventures. Equinor is a Norwegian energy major. We have a long history of exploration and production in oil and gas. We produce approximately 2 million barrels of oil per day, but at the same time we're also preparing ourselves for the energy transition, producing around 2 gigawatt hours of renewable energy, and providing energy to 170 million people across the world. We see the need for copper and for battery metals in the future, and that is why we are very much involved in this project. And we'd like to thank Zambia for the great reception of this team. Thank you.
Your Excellency, my name is Jonathan Jasper. I'm one of the general partners at a fund called July Fund. July Fund is a fund that we set up with some select group of highly accomplished individuals. One of our founding partners, for example, is Google's Global Chief Business Officer. In his role, he oversees around 250 billion in annual revenue. We, together with individuals like Philip, we identify categories that we believe are truly fundamental. That includes education, space exploration, and of course, mineral exploration. And that led us to KoBold Metals, and we are beyond excited about being part of the company, being part of the activities in Zambia, and it has been an honor to experience your country and visit the Ming'omba asset. Thank you so much.
Your Excellency, good morning. My name is Jay Simons. I'm a general partner at a firm called Bond Capital. We are also a Silicon Valley technology investment firm with 10 billion assets under management. We like to invest across the technology sector, but are especially interested where technology meets the real world. There's almost no better example than what KoBold, ZCCM, and Zambia are accomplishing in Ming'omba. Myself, I focus on software specifically, and prior to Bond, I was an operator and built and scaled software companies. My last company is a company called Atlassian that achieved $2.5 billion in revenue and $40 billion market cap before I was there for 12 years leading the business. And I'm especially interested in KoBold as a technology company, but equally interested in what the technology can accomplish in mining here in Zambia. And I'm very grateful for your hospitality.
Mr. President, this is indeed... Oh, sorry. No, it's over. Okay. Mr. President, this is, no, I'll hand over back. This is indeed a group of extraordinary people representing extraordinary organizations. I would also like to pay special tribute to our good friend, Ms. Waid, who's here in her capacity as acting U.S. Ambassador. Thank you very much for being here and all your support. With that, Mr. President, I'd like to hand over to Kurt. Thank you.
Mr. President, one of the key messages that Mfikeyi, Josh, and myself and the rest of the KoBold leadership team has been communicating to the investor set this week is that Zambia is a great place to do business. Zambia is a fantastic, has a fantastic investment climate, and they all see that with their eyes, and seeing is believing. With that, I'd like Mfikeyi to give you a summary of our week's activities.
Thank you. Your Excellency, we've spent the week up on the Copper Belt. Everyone arrived on Monday at Ming'omba, many the first time in Zambia, and also many first time in Africa. And it's actually been an exciting trip. We spent a full day with the geology team looking at the rocks, walking through the process of how we are drilling. From the time you made the announcement with Dr. Goldman at the US-Africa Summit in December 2022, the last 16 months, we have drilled over 55,000 meters, more than 50 kilometers on Ming'omba. That's been truly remarkable for exploration in this country. And more importantly, we've also moved on to looking at our Konkola West project, where we've drilled over a kilometer. We're looking at Dumbwa in Northwestern Province, and we're also in Southern Province prospecting for lithium. So it's been a great week for all the teams to talk about that. The lithium team is actually in Zambia now, some of the world's best geoscientists who look at lithium. And we also went into the community in Chilelewambwe with the Minister of Mines to open Kawama Secondary School. We learned that there are 2,000 learners there learning in conditions that are not conducive, and we quickly jumped in to align with the 8th National Development Plan and the Integrated Development Plan to alleviate firstly the foundation of everything that we do, which is education. And that's just the beginning. So our investors were there with us to hand over and interact with the people there, and we were graced with the local leadership in Chilelewambwe. We also spent a morning in Kalulushi at the archive with our colleagues from ZCCM, who have done a marvelous job keeping the country's records in terms of the maps and reports. Our digitization project has been progressing well. We've crossed over 100,000 pages scanning, and we still are only 40% into the project. And I think walking through that with the teams there, we were well supported with ZCCM and the KoBold staff there. So it's been a remarkable week, and we're wrapping up here in Lusaka with you. And it would not be a complete visit without showing them the tourism side. So from here, we are off to Livingston, so that on the mighty Zambezi, we can talk about what else we can do in Zambia. So it's been a great weekend. I think we can expound on that.
Thank you, Mfikeyi. Your Excellency, again, we're grateful to be here with you. You have a map in front of you that summarizes a number of activities that KoBold is undertaking. And in a few moments, we'll give you a more update on progress at Ming'omba, which we are very excited about. But our goal in Zambia goes much beyond Ming'omba. We want to find the next Ming'omba, and the one after that, and the Ming'omba of lithium. And we need the team here in Zambia who can find those next great deposits and who can work with us to help develop those next great deposits. And so we were working across all of these different dimensions together on the next opportunities here in Zambia. It is a place where we have decided to invest strongly and to accelerate our investments. To pick a few highlights from the map, one, the project we call Konkola West. This is a joint venture both with a local Zambian company and with a multinational small exploration company. We call it Konkola West because the license boundary is about 3 kilometers west of Konkola Mine. And on this license, there has never been a single hole drilled before. So close to Konkola. And it's more complicated. It is deeper. We don't even know how deep the relevant layers of rock are that might or might not host copper ore. But the only way to find out is to go look, and to go look deeper in search spaces where others have not looked before. We are using our technology to guide our decision-making about whether to drill and where to drill, and we've decided the opportunities, though highly speculative, risky, are worth the investment, and we will learn a great deal from doing so. And so that drilling is happening right now, underway. Likewise, we are looking in other parts, not just on the copper belt. North of the copper belt, up near Kipushi, we have a project called Kanyamata that we are very excited about. We have been eager to invest and to drill on this project for more than 2 years now. We came into the project and there was a dispute between other parties, a small party and a large multinational. We wanted to invest and drill this project in 2022. The dispute stood in the way. I'm happy to say that we have resolved the disputes through commercial means without needing to litigate. And now we have unblocked it, we have resolved the issues with a commercial solution, and now we are keen to drill as quickly as we can at Kanyamata as well. And we are tendering now for drilling on the Dumbwa project, and that is an open tender, which Mfikeyi will talk a little bit more about how we are qualifying and sourcing new suppliers who may be able to perform those drilling operations there at Dumbwa. And we globally are not just a copper company, and Zambia is perspective not just for copper. As Mfikeyi referenced, last week our global lithium exploration team, including some of the most distinguished lithium geologists in the world, were in Southern Province looking at opportunities for lithium where there are no lithium mines today, but where we think Zambia holds great potential. And we have a lot of work to do. This is very green fields. We have to go walk on the ground and take the kinds of observations that people who were looking for copper did 100 years ago. And we need to start there, and our team is beginning that work now. And the first time on the ground left them and left all of us very excited. So these activities are continuing. There are more on this map. And I want to recognize also the Honorable Minister of Mines and the staff at the ministry as we are applying for licenses, seeking approval for transactions, renewing our licenses. The thing that we seek from the ministry, as I said on the stage with you at the US-Africa Leaders Summit in December 2022, what we seek are actions from the government that are fair under the laws, are transparent, and are fast. And that is what we have received from the Ministry of Mines on a consistent basis. And that is also recognizing the support of the public servants in the ministry, the permanent secretary, the directors, the staff below them, who are working just as hard as we are to make things happen and to make things happen fast. And the results of the work, we hope, will generate something more like Ming'omba. Obviously, there's no 1 2.2 yet, and we're doing the work to make that happen. An important component that the U.S. government is helping with, of course, is the Lobito corridor, which makes investment in Zambia even more attractive to us. In particular, Ming'omba, where it's located on the northern copper belt, and of the scale that we expect Ming'omba now to be, we're now confident that Ming'omba will anchor the Zambian spur of the Lobito Atlantic Railway. Lenisa, would you like to say a few more words on Lobito?
Sure, thank you again. And as we know, the success of the Lobito corridor really rests on the ability to attract reputable private sector investors, such as the ones that we have here today. And these investors not only represent KoBold, but also the potential for investment in other sectors in the Zambian economy to really help achieve, Your Excellency, your ambitious economic growth agenda for Zambia. Thank you.
Two more things just to highlight briefly on the map. One, I think you heard about from some of our colleagues at the Caminex, are the scholarships, both at Copperbelt University and the University of Zambia. A program KoBold originated and is jointly developed with Stanford University on data science for geoscience. That is what our company is all about. We don't want the idea of data science and geoscience to be proprietary to KoBold. We need the whole industry moving in this direction. And so bringing some of the best scholarship in Zambia into the fold and finding ways to collaborate with KoBold, that's something that we're supporting financially. And the last one you heard about in our itinerary is digitization of historic data. Our involvement here started 2 years ago, a conversation I had with then chair of ZCCMIH, Dola Kabanda, where we expressed our interest in digitizing historic data. Elsewhere in the world, the historic data inventory is incredibly important to us. And it's not that there's sort of one gem, there's no treasure map. The obvious ideas have been pursued a very, very long time ago. We think of each piece of data, it's a brick in the edifice. And all of us explorers, to go forth and test a new idea, to generate a new idea, to decide that a new idea is worth testing and worth incurring the likely outcome of failure, as most exploration projects are. And we need the benefit of all of the cumulative knowledge of explorers who came before us, all the companies who tried and failed, all of the government surveys who have gone and sent geologists out to make observations and take samples. All of this data together is the seed corn that allows us to generate a new idea and test a new idea and learn from that failure and go test a new idea again. So the data elsewhere in the world, when we collect data, it becomes public after we conduct our works and we file our reports and we deposit the data and it all becomes public. Zambia has an incredible legacy of historic data from many decades of skilled geological observations. And again, what we need is that data in combination with new data acquisition, in combination with data that we later go acquire, and the picture starts to come into view, and then we have a setback, and we go collect some more data. And in each case, we all want to pick up where the last explorer left off and make a little bit more progress and a little bit more. And these resources were long identified as great opportunities for unlocking more exploration investment in Zambia. I know an industry report delivered to Your Excellency in, I think, early 2022 identified digitization of historic archives as one of the many levers for unlocking additional investment. And in particular, in that report, it suggested that perhaps some third-party funding, World Bank or something, might be necessary to make this happen. And the conversation that Dolaka and I had was, let's not rely on third parties, let's just get moving, let's do this together. And she said, are you willing to do this at your expense? And I said, absolutely. And so that, we wrote a memorandum of understanding and got to work. And we started employing people. KoBold hired dedicated staff. We hired a combination of people with backgrounds in IT and geoscience to begin working with the ZCC-MIH team at the Mawe complex together to start digitizing the records and building a digital archive. When I saw the director of the Geological Survey, Mr. Muila, each time after that, he said, why did you start there and not here in Lusaka at the GSD archives? And I said, we're going to get there too. And then after several more nudges in that direction, thank you, Mr. Muila, it was very helpful, we did, and we have now hired 3 more people who are staffing a digital archive project here in Lusaka in the archives of the Geological Survey Department. And these projects are going very, very well. Our aim here is, this is not for KoBold, this is for Zambia. And part of the discussion from the beginning in each of these projects is with our assistance to make this data public. This is everyone learns, the goal is to stimulate more exploration investment, not just by KoBold, but by lots of explorers, and the willingness to risk capital and to fail and to pick up where one person leaves off and fail again and pick up where that person leaves off and try again. And there's greater incentive to do so when you don't have to redo what someone else might have done 50 years ago. We can learn from that and try the next thing and try the next thing. Maybe, John Thompson, will you say a few words about both what you observed in the digitization project and maybe in the context of sort of data access globally?
Yeah, happy to do so, Josh. Yes, Mr. President, I've been involved in collecting geoscientific data and using it to make discoveries all over the world throughout my career. So it's a fundamental building block to the successful discovery and therefore the attraction of investment to your country, Zambia. So when we visited the site at Kalawashi, I was just incredibly impressed by the Zambian staff there who are doing this really difficult, very tedious work of digitizing, collecting, scanning all this information, maps and reports into this digital format. And I truly believe they were both doing it diligently, but they were excited about doing it because they understand the relationship between data and knowledge, the ability to get it into a format that's accessible, that many people can use to then make discoveries. As I go around and look at the world and look at different jurisdictions, there is no question in my mind that there's a fundamental relationship between the quality of the geoscientific data and the amount of investment that people are willing to spend on mineral exploration in those jurisdictions. All other things being equal, obviously, if the country has to be accessible and have a legal framework that's acceptable. But once you've got those things, geoscientific data is then the piece that makes the difference, that allows you to come in and make that initial understanding of what might be there, identify areas for potential, and then start doing mineral exploration. So it's a hugely important piece. Obviously, as Josh said, there are many pieces that go into both making a concentration of copper, a mineral deposit, and discovering it, but this is the foundation. So I was hugely impressed by the work that we're doing there. I'm very excited. It will pay dividends.
With that, let's talk a little bit more about the Zambian company we're building.
Good, next slide. So, Your Excellency, with all of this, the company has rapidly grown from January 2023, where we had 15 people in the company, to now 271 Zambian employees. And as we move forward, we're anticipating rapidly moving to more than 700. We've been very deliberate in our strategy to recruit the best Zambians locally and those who have gone out. And it is known that it's often difficult for locals to get into certain positions in a company. But the KoBold investors, my colleagues, the co-founders, really believe in keeping the talent local so that this country can be a hub in Zambia, in the region, and in Africa. And the team members that you see there are leaders in the company who've been committed for years of service locally and internationally, and we've managed to poach them back home with good conditions. And many people continue to write to us to say, Zambia is happening, we want to come back. And that service, it's so valuable in a sector where the skills of mining and anything that goes around mining are actually dying, because there are fewer mining engineers coming out, there are fewer metallurgists coming out, but Zambia has a burgeoning population, and this is why we've also partnered with the universities to revive interest into those courses, so we continue to pull people, not only technically, but even support services in terms of our CFO being a local Zambian, our head of comms, our drilling manager there, Mr. Mangalilo. We had to go to Saudi Arabia and pull him out to bring him back home. So those are the things that we're doing, and also searching locally to continue building talent. A unique one is also the last gentleman there, Chanda Mwenyechanya, who used to work in a tax business and now is a data scientist on the technology side with KoBold, because we are not going to be a standard company. We're going to leverage a lot of the technology skills that are homegrown, built here, that we can also start doing these things and innovating on our own. So beyond June 2026, with how we are rapidly developing beyond exploration into thinking of how we go into production, there will be a lot more to come, including who the contractors need to hire. We are very deliberate to say source the skills in country. I think I'll now hand over to Kurt to just talk a bit more about Ming'omba and just give context to what this deposit looks like.
Thank you. We are building a Zambian mining company to develop what's going to be Zambia's biggest mine. Mr. President, a year and a half ago, we had a hypothesis. We had a hypothesis that was based on a combination of legacy data, our own technology, and human intelligence. It's always a combination of the three. It's never one. We had a hypothesis that Ming'omba, the strata under Ming'omba held something special. That's why we committed to the rapid investment that we did, and then we deployed it so fast. $200 million later and 55,000 meters of drilling, I can tell you that we've confirmed our hypothesis. We know that Ming'omba will be Zambia's biggest mine when put into operation. The figure you have in front of you, I want to take you through it. The horizontal axis is contained copper in the ground, not ore, copper metal. The vertical axis is grade, concentration of copper. Each orange dot is a deposit somewhere around the world that's not in production. Maybe it's a legacy deposit that's been fully depleted, or maybe it's not yet put into production. The blue dots are mines that are currently operating, and that tells, and the dot's location tells you both its contained copper and its grade. We have a copper a total quantity versus grade space here. And as you would suspect, there's a lot of gigantic mines and gigantic deposits that are low grade. And there's a lot of high grade things that are small. You can see that. You can see how the dots form this downward sloping. There's this downward sloping physical frontier. You don't have a lot of stuff in the upper right hand. You don't have a lot of large, high grade stuff in the world. In fact, it gets extremely rare. What we know now is the best 100 million tons of ore, of rock, at Ming'omba averages about 5.8% copper. The best 200 million tons at Ming'omba averages 4.8% copper. And the best 300 million tons averages about 3.8% copper. And we have high confidence in this because of a combination of the new data that we've collected. We've pierced the so-called copper ore body member. That's the key strata that's rich in copper. We've pierced it over 50 times because we drill a parent hole and then we drill side holes to get additional information. And at every time, all of our AI models, which generate tens of thousands of realizations of the subsurface. What that means is possible subsurfaces. As you know, Mr. President, the subsurface is tremendously uncertain. Right? There's no direct observations until you get down there. You're making predictions based on whatever data we have. And KoBold uses all available data to make these predictions. With every new measurement, our predictions get better, our uncertainty gets reduced, and we're continuing to do that. And remarkably exciting is that the resource, this is not it. The resource is continuing to grow. We don't know how big it's going to get. This is the well-defined resource, and it's still growing. We can comfortably say that when in production, it's going to be the biggest mine in Zambia, and we are proud to say that it's going to be built by our Zambian leadership team and the Zambian mining company that we're building here. And with that, we can talk a little bit about what comes next.
So in front of you, we have the timelines, and by the end of 2025, from the announcement made in December 2022, we would have spent $300 million just in discovery, resource characterization, engineering studies, preparing for shaft sinking in the first half of 2026. That is the level of confidence that we have around this. A lot of the preliminary works have already started. That's why we're able to say that the head counts and the cascading economic impact around the copper belt, around Chirabombe, will just start to grow. And we're really excited to talk about this with yourself and your staff today. And more importantly, we also took our investor team up to Kasumbalesa so they could appreciate the hive of activity. We drove around there, showed the proximity to our site, which also speaks to how we can get the materials out using the Lobito corridor, and just helps that business case, and hence the support we get from the US government. And having these discussions will literally build a lot of other industries over and above mining as a core industry. And this is how we want to continue to collaborate with government, the different ministries around planning this part of the country, and even the other projects which will have their own dedicated resources. We've just talked about Ming'omba, but that tells you that there's confidence to keep looking around the country, given that there's more to work on. Josh?
As Mfikeyi described, brilliant. The sort of critical technical decision we're working towards is, where should the shaft go? And it's a critical decision because it's a very expensive investment, and it's not one we get to make more than once. Once the shaft sinking begins, we can't move the shaft. It will take years to construct and hundreds of millions of dollars to build. We've got to get it in the right place, because that's what sets Ming'omba up to be a long-lived, economically sustainable operation. We need Ming'omba to produce for decades and sustainably, and designing the mine well is the principal technical problem that we are working on. So our resource drilling informs that, our probabilistic models of the resource, our technology for mine planning is helping us choose the best location, And we don't yet know where it's going to go. And that's partially because we have to collect more data from the drilling, and that's partially because we have to do the technical work to determine that. You can see here on the map, the orange outline is the highest grade, thickest part of the Ming'omba resource. You can see it's in an area that has a lot going on. You can see in the background, so far
the hardest.
Yes. You can see the Lubengeli tailings storage facility from KCM, both the part with the water and the dry part of the tailings. You can see all of the communities on the license. This whole group on Wednesday afternoon was there at Kawama Combined School to open the new classroom block. And the other communities, obviously, Chilulabambwe is part of the urban extent of Chilulabambwe is here in the picture. The T3 highway to Kasambalesa, and so on. And so we'll have to sink a shaft, and then we'll have to locate surface infrastructure, and we need to get these all in the right place. And what's really important to all of us together is that we continue to go fast. We don't want to slow down because there's some problem on surface. So far, things are going great. Our discussions with an ongoing relationship building with all of the relevant communities and stakeholders have enabled us to continue to go fast, and having confidence that we can build a mine well, that we can locate the infrastructure where it needs to be to support investment is what enables us to continue investing with confidence.
We may excuse the media. We can excuse the media.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I think at this point in time, before we ask the media to excuse the meeting, perhaps we can call upon the President of the Republic of Zambia for your initial remarks in reaction to what has been presented today. Then following that, we'll ask the media to excuse the meeting. Thank you. Well noted, Mr. President. At this point in time, I'd like to call upon the host Member of Parliament of Chilulabambwe, as well as the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development for his comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Honorable Minister of Finance and State House staff and team from Ministry of Mines. Good morning, team from KoBold. Your Excellency, I must say that I'm very excited with what I've heard, and like you've always said, Your Excellency, your song is being heard, that new technologies, predictable environment, business-friendly environment, and this is the result. I think that when you look at the pedigree of the people that are seated on this table in terms of the investors that are coming into KoBold and the knowledge that is on the table, it's quite exciting for the mining sector, and I believe that the benefit will not only be on the KoBold investment, but I think that even generally in the mining sector, Mr. President, there will be a lot of exchange of notes and ideas on how really we can make our sector even grow further. I was excited when I interacted right before we came in the meeting with our geoscientists, and they were how excited they are about where Zambia is going. So I think there will be a lot of exchange of ideas and experiences so that we can relate to other programs that we have in the mining space. I must say our relationship with KoBold has been very good. I think that we've given the support that we can so that this investment can quickly benefit our people. Your Excellency, I'm also excited with the CSR programs, what they've done. That secondary school they are talking about, Your Excellency, is the first of its kind in an area called Kawama, one of very highly populated areas, and they've done a secondary school. And again, I said this is in line with the vision of the President of giving access to education. And in fact, he has introduced free education, and you have done well to start with the base in terms of promoting education in our country. So, Your Excellency, it's a very, very exciting time for us, and I think the results are showing because of the policies that we've put in place. So I would like to welcome KoBold to continue with the trajectory. So, Your Excellency, it's a very, very exciting time for us, and I think the results are showing because of the policies that we've put in place. So I would like to welcome KoBold to continue with the trajectory in terms of developing that mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I would like to call upon the Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning for his comments.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, my colleague, Minister of Mines, and special welcome to the colleagues from KoBold. Mr. President, there was a time what was not appreciated was that, in fact, the mining industry remains with huge potential, and what was required was just the resetting of the policy environment and the minerals which are well hidden in the ground, they will be found. And what we've heard this morning is a testimony to that observation. Once the policy environment is set correctly, the minerals just appear one by one. We are grateful to the colleagues from KoBold who have made the investments. This, in the eyes of the Zambian public, will clearly demonstrate that the policy pronouncement we made to get to 3 million tons of copper was not a wild dream. I think what we are seeing here is block by block. We are getting there, and people should just be patient. Already you can see the train is in motion. Unfortunately, building a mine is not like growing tomato. It's not like growing potatoes where you throw the seeds in the ground today, 3 months later you harvest. With mines, it takes longer because of the complexity. But the good news is that the policy environment is certainly working, and that 3 million tons of copper will be attained. This is for the benefit of the Zambians, because more will be in jobs, more taxes will be collected, and of course, we are also happy that for the investors, we want you to make money out of this, because if you don't make money, you will not be able to pay taxes. And if you can't pay taxes, we don't like you. So, on our part of the government, we'll reset things, or we've already reset things, and we'll provide all the support to make sure that this investment is successful, to bring a win-win situation on the table. Finally, I'm grateful that our investors have taken confidence in putting up a Zambian team to develop this mine. Just like my colleague said, this is why it has been important for us to invest more money into education. Because without education, these Zambian colleagues would not be able to participate. We'll be having people from all over the world, which is not meaningful. So we will continue to invest into education. With this investment coming through, then the Zambians can participate either as employees or businesses, because out of this there will be so many spin-off businesses that will come. And as employees or businesses, because out of this there will be so many spin-off businesses that will come. And the educated people have the best chance of taking advantage of those opportunities. So, colleagues, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. It is now my honour and privilege to call upon His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia for his remarks. Mr. President, sir.
Thank you very much, Jito, for moderating this meeting. Let me just start by acknowledging the KoBold team very sizable team. Your presence in the meeting is really welcome, warmly welcomed. And I'm aware that we also have the Charge d'Affaires at the embassy, somebody who's becoming a friend of Zambia over the years. We appreciate your presence. My colleagues, the Minister of Mines, Minister of Finance, all our team members, full composition of our team. Let me just indicate how pleased we are for you to have this meeting with us. We're very, very happy as a country. Let me step aside and indicate, which is very important to us, our sound relationship, US-Zambia sound relationship. Without that base, it would have been difficult for us, once we got elected, to get to where we are here. So we want to really underscore the importance of this partnership between Zambia and the US, our bilateral partnership, and around there, our other opportunities such as this one. Put that aside. We were elected into office to do a number of things. But amongst those things, the key ones, really why we believe the people of Zambia put us in office, was to better their lives. And there's no other way of doing that other than reconstructing the economy. No other way. I keep saying to my fellow citizens that as Africans, we generally come from large families. We love each other, we support each other, but without capacity to support each other, that love is a mere show of or touch of feeling, and nothing more than that. So our agenda, as entrusted by the people of Zambia through our democratic process, was to reconstruct the economy, to rebuild this economy, to restore the rule of law, to make the country attractive in many sectors. Amongst those is the mining sector. We're traditionally a mining economy. Everybody knows that. Whoever cares to know about countries knows that we've been mining for over 100 years, I believe, in our country. So what we're doing today is really part of that story, that agenda. It's part of that jigsaw puzzle for us as a government, on behalf of the people of Zambia, reaching out to investors on the platform of our bilateral relationships, as I said, with the US and other countries. Our early maneuvers after taking office, public office, was to travel to locations we thought that we would generate investments from, to add on to the limited domestic investments given our small savings capacity, funds mobilization capacity. So US was one of them. Europe, of course, was another. China is another over time. And I'm very pleased that following our efforts, we were able in December. I'm looking at this schedule of yours. If you may just put it on the screen, if it's possible. Following a couple of visitations into locations such as the US, we were able to have that milestone decision or announcement in December, I believe in Washington. We made the announcement in Washington following previous conversations. And sitting here listening to some of the investors talk, I'm very delighted that Zambians can learn a lesson that things don't just happen by chance. Things are planned, they are orchestrated deliberately, intentionally, to get to the point that you wish to get to. So I'm very happy with that milestone. And obviously then the speed at which
KoBold was able to move following that announcement into the middle milestone achievement 2023-2025 you have, but here we are still in 2024. And the work today you have explained to us where you are, what you're doing, the application of technology, science, specialists, experience, people who walk about to discover, as one of our gold mines, small gold mines in Kasenseli, basically was not discovered by our geologists. It was the local people in Minilunga who found that gold, and now we have a gold mine. So to realize that even the most sophisticated scientists acknowledge the importance of local knowledge, it is heartwarming to a fellow like myself. And I think my colleagues are on this side. So, and I want to encourage that sort of working, partnerships, bringing together to a point of convergence all the bits and pieces that would help in our journey for us to grow this economy phenomenally. We don't want a little gradual growth, we want a step change in the growth of our economy in many sectors, clubbing things here, and I'll touch on some of the things, what I call other sectors, which are completely relevant to what we are doing here. So having said that, that speed of work, the application of technology, which we are talking about 4 pillars in growing our economy, capital, which we're mobilizing from various colleagues here who do different things, but you're able to pull the story together. Thank you to all of you. But the technology, I touched on it. Number 3, really the joint ventures. And I want to say this to the media for the country to know. Ming'omba project is a joint venture, right? It's a joint venture between the investors outside, elsewhere, doesn't matter. One of them said we are global citizens. I think I heard that word being used. I love that word. And it's important that citizens of Zambia know that we are part of the global community, global community citizens of the world who need to work together. And again, someone here mentioned the importance of commerce and how commerce actually can consolidate the human race and the creatures around us, our world, our climate, all of that for sustainability. So this is a joint venture, which is our 3rd pillar in our economic development approach. I said capital, fair price capital, and then technology, then joint ventures. Ming'omba answers so far to these 3 out of the 4. The last one really is value addition. That we would like to see Ming'omba take that as part of its responsibility to deliver value addition as part of what we do in this project. And I think because that value addition, that processing, additional value, will again work towards our agenda to accelerate our economic growth. Very, very important. So I'm very happy to put this thing in my head and say, that's adding up, that's adding up, that's adding up. So continue. And I want to also say, before the media goes, I have a couple of things to say off camera, or in camera if you like. The English is quite strange. Inside the camera, supposed to be exposed, but in camera means private. So anyhow, so far at that level, we want to indicate our clear support for this project. This our project. This is our project. And I say so for the Ming'omba team and the non-Zambians. There's a perception that has been built over years in our country that investments belong to other people, some monsters that walk in and just extract value and walk away and don't contribute any value to society. But this is our investment. This Ming'omba project is our investment. Media, please report it definitively that. And it will deliver benefits. Part of that already is what the ministers have said. Schools are coming through. But that's a small, tiny issue. Social corporate responsibility is a tiny issue of the broader value that will come out. Our 3 million tons target. You see the numbers.
if we go to phase or deliverable 3, just on the same page, when you look at once we've done $2.3 billion of investment, we are looking at 300,000 metric tons. I think one of your schedules shows that. That's our own agenda, even before we started quoting Ming'omba. So Ming'omba comes on board, fits into our own national agenda of growing the production to 3 million tons. That's the story. That's how it works. So it means the value that our project brings is already helping us to achieve our own targets that we have set, again, to help grow the economy. So excellent. And I'm sure my colleagues in Cabinet and others feel the way I feel. I'm very happy today. It's difficult to get me happy, but I'm very happy today with the drought and all the issues that we have. So we want to encourage the investors. We want to encourage the technical skills, Zambians, non-Zambians, expertise. We also want to assure you that we will support, this government will support to button up the gaps where there's slowness. I know you've used good words here, but I know that there is slowness in our system. I'm aware of that. And what we want to do is to assure you that we'll be able to unlock those rigidities, those blockers, as you articulated yourself, that is slowing us down in this project, as in other projects that we are embarking on in our country, in the mining sector, but also outside the sector. So please, let's checklist those issues off this meeting. Let's checklist those issues that are hanging around or reducing the speed. And the ask I have around there on behalf of the people of Zambia is that it's good to look at this schedule of work, but I will want to ask you to see if we can front load some of the work we are doing so that we can bring forward some activities that ordinarily would have come in 2026 or thereafter, to see if they can come forward a little bit. I know it's difficult. Your planning appears meticulous, but let's work on that so that the bigger ticket beyond the $300 million in the middle towards the $2.3 billion can be brought forward. That's the ask that we make on behalf of the country. I was very happy to hear the Norwegian colleague make a contribution there, somebody who is working in Norway, because in my years in business I visited Norway and looked at the history of that country and how difficult the economy was before oil and gas was discovered. One resource changed the lives of Norwegians. That's a fact, oil and gas, to a point where every child is able to go to school in Norway because they've managed their resource envelope well to benefit not only the investors and the payback and return on investment, but the Norwegian citizenry. We would like to do what Norwegians have done with their oil and gas to the Norwegian people's quality of life. We want to do this with our copper, cobalt, nickel, manganese, lithium, graphite, and other rare earth. Maybe that closes the story properly, that we want to use our resource envelope, God granted us, exploit them in a manner that would deliver value to an ordinary citizen who is not involved in the mining sector directly, but can see the benefits. We have a neighbor close to us, Botswana. When I was going through university, undergraduate at a local university, we had Tswana students from Botswana. Some of them actually came to do mining because we had the best mining school in the region, the School of Mines at the University of Zambia. And we never really paid attention to them. This is as late as the 80s, late 80s. We never paid attention to them because Botswana was really nothing. It was just a desert and cattle, people like me. But once the diamond find was basically consolidated, today an average Botswana's life is much better than many, not just on the African continent, but globally. One resource. Why shouldn't we do this? for the people of Zambia using this resource endowment? That's a question. I think we can answer that question. So in there sits all the things of, local contractors, suppliers, employment, which the Minister of Finance has raised. I'm very pleased to see Zambians coming back home. This again fits in with our agenda. But they can't come home and hang around. They come home to work on the Ming'omba project. Fantastic. It's a great story. And I really like it to be told better than we can tell it in politics, in government. The people who can tell it better are yourselves, are the Zambians themselves. Chief Executive, you better tell the story. You are one of those fished out of where you were. A colleague from Saudi, where is he? He's not here? Oh, he's on the drill rig. He's not hanging around, he's working. Fantastic. So I would like that story, help us to tell that story of Zambians coming back home to do something gainful for their economy, but for their families as well. I think that is really important. That said, I have a few things that I'll raise when the media is out, but I ought to say it here. Exploration, mapping exploration, we would like, Minister, to have convergence. We're looking at a mapping project. I think it's only important that we have rationalization of that together with what Ming'omba is doing, given the technology that they have already used and applied successfully to be able to do a job that ordinarily in the mining system, mining heritage, that would have taken 5 years to do the exploration, to get these ore bodies that you well summarized here in this one. And also, I think this one, the ore bodies that you showed us here, this one, right? So we would like to piggyback on that, Minister of Mines, because we are about to contract. If we have not contracted already, we have contracted, but we should still rationalize. I listened to them that they're doing more than the Ming'omba project. You're already doing bits and pieces here. Let's stitch this story together so we can be rational. One, we can be prudent. We don't spend money on something that is already done elsewhere. And also the fact that we are doing more than Copper Belt, Northwestern Province. I'm very delighted to see that. Southern Province, I'm delighted to see that. Central Province actually has quite a bit of things that are going on, but we're scratching on them. So, but a more methodical way of doing this will be a good thing. And I want to also make an ask here that as we do the mapping exploration, we would also like to look at the aquifers that this country may be sitting on. I don't think that is a totally new exercise, but as you do the exploration, the mapping, I think we can look at the water resource, groundwater resource that we have because of our agenda on the agriculture production productivity through irrigation. Yes, we'll be doing surface water harvesting, but looking at what is in Mpongwe, Minister of Mines, Minister of Finance, you went to Mpongwe. Looking at the aquifer in Mpongwe, we need to be able to define other aquifers. And because of that aquifer in Mpongwe, again, the villagers told us, it wasn't the geologists, the hydrologists, it was the villagers who said, here, come and have a look here. But we want now to have that knowledge. And the digitization project you're doing is very exciting. So water is important to us and other things for our agriculture sector. And lastly, before I stand down for the media to leave us, we are keen on connected sectors, investing in connected sectors. What you were able to do in Ming'omba to bring investors in the Silicon Valley elsewhere, we would like to throw a request. I told myself when I was in the opposition that when we form government, I'll be the chief marketing officer for Zambia. I'll be the chief investment officer for Zambia. Salesman, call me anything. Sweeper of the floors, cleaning cups, dusting the windows. It's my job. So I'm asking you to assist us to also look at investors in the energy sector, because this project will be impacted negatively if energy is not available. After this meeting, I have a meeting here on energy to kick the energy side to make energy available for projects such as Ming'omba and others. So I extend this invitation to join me and the country in marketing, in looking for investors in the energy space like yesterday. I would rather have surplus energy, happily so, because we can send it to others who need it in the country, in the region. Because of the drought, and we're heavily green already, green energy, through hydro, unfortunately, a mono type of energy, we got now the heat with the drought on food insecurity and energy insecurity, which threatens an economic shutdown, and Ming'omba directly. I think you can see the connection now. So we're looking at investors in that space, and I'll leave it at that, so that we begin to run on all fronts. The 4 wheels, ordinary car has 4 wheels, if one has a puncture, the 3 wheels will not take you where you want to go. So energy is now a flat tire. So we need that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll mention this, Mr. President, in addition to telling the story, as you've guided, not only from our local press, but we also have, through our good friends at KoBold, the New York Times present, so they too will cover this, and as well as speak to the President right after this meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you to our esteemed colleagues in the press. If you may kindly excuse the meeting, then we'll reconvene out at the steps where we capture this day with some photos and so on. Thank you very much.
Did you know that you can still watch your favorite shows from anywhere, anytime? Yeah!